Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Tonight. Today, many are angry, scared, and it's a terrifying reminder that American democracy is such a fragile process. We here share the same emotions with you as citizens of the United States of America. We condemn this assault on American democracy. We are thinking of the DC police, National Guard, and everyone working to restore law and order in the Capitol building. We invite people to share their feelings and concerns in the chat room. Please keep it respectful and civil. We are here for you, the viewers, to provide motorsports content and bring a sense of normalcy and a moment of escape for everybody. I know it's been a really tough day. With me, as always, Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish. Thank you for being here. As always, we have plenty of special guests with us. We're going to recap some of the big news in this past week. We start with some of the big news involving the Grid Network for 2021. This is our first full calendar year on the air. We'll be on the air during the entire year. We first went on the air during the pandemic. We've been providing motorsports programming every week since then. Wednesday, Grid Tonight will continue on the air. Thursdays, Grid Girls, the women racing to win with our friends from Racers, the girls behind the helmet. Saturday, Grid Live pre-race. There'll be Grid Live news for this upcoming weekend and weekends where there's no racing. Then, depending on scheduling, Grid wrap up Sunday, recapping the racing action, as well as the updated Grid World Motorsport League and ranking standings. And the final Friday of every month, Life on the Grid, hosted by Kobe Lambeth. The Grid World Motorsport League will kick off their season March 1st. Bill Hansen took the Grid World Motorsport League Championship, holding off Lewis Hamilton by 0.02, the closest finish in the Grid World Motorsport League. You can follow them on Twitter at grid_WML. Meanwhile, April 4th, the Grid Ranking will kick off. This first Sunday of April marks the annual start of the Grid Ranking. IndyCar, MotoGP, and potentially other series may not be up and running by then. However, they will be scored once two races are completed. Lewis Hamilton is a defending Grid Ranking World Champion.
And some news that came out late in 2020 involved W Series racer Emma Kimiläinen. Recently on a Formula One podcast, Emma shared a story from 2010. While she was 20 years old, she was looking at a deal to race in the IndyLights series. However, the team had a sponsorship deal with a high-end men's magazine, so Emma didn't have to bring sponsorship money, and when drivers know they don't have to bring sponsorship money, that's like a dream to every driver out there. But the team stipulated that she'd have to post topless for the magazine. Outraged and disgusted, she exited these negotiations, and unfortunately, she was unable to race again for 4 years. And at the time, Emma was racing against some high-profile drivers such as Valtteri Bottas, Marcus Ericsson, and shared a team with Kevin Magnussen. All of those drivers went on to race in Formula One. How appalling is it that Emma was discriminated against and missed out on years of racing?
It's very appalling. It's just very sad to think that a team and a sponsor did not value her for her racing talent. And especially, we got to remember, 2005, Danica Patrick got the attention of the country with the Indianapolis 500 run. Danica was the most popular driver in IndyCar. Emma could have easily gone there, had success, and become another big star for IndyCar. IndyCar lost out. The IndyLights lost out. And it was all because of the sexist discrimination of, we don't value you as a racer. We want you to do this because of your looks, because of your gender. It's just really appalling, and rightfully so that everyone is upset about the news.
Yes, it was very appalling to hear this story come to light, and it's really sad that Emma kept this private for so many years, and considering how women have been treated in racing over the years, it's not really a major surprise that she would keep this private, and this is something that we really need to change in the motorsports community, and not only the community and our society, so men and women can be seen as equal, and so female racers will be able to compete in racing teams and won't have to do anything absolutely disgusting and ridiculous like posing for a topless for a magazine. And Emma Kimiläinen will be racing in a W Series later this year, and that series is going to be racing on Formula One weekends at some of the most historic and high-profile circuits around the world, including two here in North America: Circuit of the Americas, Austin, Texas, in the United States, and Mexico City. They'll definitely receive a lot of media attention once they come over here for their events. Does this story show why the W Series is much needed and the sport still has a long way to go in terms of gender equality?
It does show why the W Series is needed. The W Series is there for women to really show that what they're capable of doing on the racetrack, that they belong on the same level as men driver. The big thing, of course, what a lot of times people sort of forget when it comes to the feeder series, there's a lot of times the severity between drivers that has the big funding, a lot of backing, compared to the drivers that don't have that much funding and backing. And a lot of times the sponsors will go with certain drivers, and too often women drivers are sort of passed up. W Series eliminates that by allowing all these drivers the opportunity to race and try to earn a super license. With the story of what happened to Emma Kimiläinen, it really proves the case that we still have a long way to go as an industry. To think that a driver who's raced against Marcus Ericsson, Valtteri Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, all of them went to F1. She could have easily been in F1, easily been an IndyCar, and she was robbed that, and we all as race fans were robbed of that as well.
Yes, it's such a shame that she missed out on years of racing because of this horrible incident. And I'm sure Emma Kimiläinen is going to be excited to compete in the W Series this year and show us everything that she has on the racetrack. And the 2021 W Series season is scheduled to begin on June 26th in France at Circuit Paul Ricard. And we will be previewing all the drivers competing in the 2021 W Series season on our Thursday show with Racers, the girls behind the helmet, including inaugural W Series champion Jamie Chadwick, Biska Visser, and Sabre Cook, among others. And next, we're going to look at a story coming out of NASCAR. Wood Brothers Racing have acquired a full charter into the NASCAR Cup Series in 2017. The Wood Brothers started off by leasing a charter, then went on to enter a partnership with Archie St. Hilaire, the owner of Go Fast Racing, sharing the charter. Now the Wood Brothers have sole ownership of that charter that locks them into every NASCAR Cup Series race. And this charter definitely elevates the team value because a team without a charter is not guaranteed a starting position at the Cup level. Only 4 positions on the grid are available for non-charter teams, and this charter system was introduced in 2016, replacing the prior method of provisionals.
Yeah, this is big news for the Wood Brothers, and of course, one of the big things we're really super excited about for the grid network in 2021 is our expanding role, including in online motorsports. One of the big things we're really super excited about is we're going to be partnering with Radius Racing, and we're very excited to have the team from Radius Racing with us. We got today Adam Kuhn, Karen, and Alonzo. Everyone, welcome. How are you all doing today? We'll start out with Alonzo.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing great here. And then I see we got Cameron. Cameron, how's your day going so far?
Very good. How are you guys?
Doing great. And then, of course, Adam, thank you for being on the show. How's your day going?
It's pretty good. Thanks for having us.
Not a problem. We're excited to have you. Definitely want to start off, of course, you're all going to be part of Galaxy Racing Series. Adam, can you tell us, for fans not familiar with the Galaxy Cup Series, how is that structure and how is the 2021 schedule like?
Well, the 2021 schedule follows the real-life schedule of NASCAR Cup Series. Galaxy races every Saturday night at 8 p.m. We're still working out the details of where we can stream the races, but it should be exciting to kick off the season with Grid Network on Cam's car for 2 races this year.
Very exciting, I know, and definitely does some big exciting news in regards to the series. And this one is for Cameron. Radius Racing, of course, you're going to be in Cup Truck Series. Then we heard there's a partnership with Jessie Punch, daughter of Dr. Jerry Punch. Of course, a lot of fans know him from his ESPN coverage, especially in NASCAR. How exciting is this opportunity, especially for Radius Racing?
It's really cool because all of us as NASCAR fans, we all grew up watching, the ESPN races, like you said, he was doing pit reporting. And so it's kind of cool to see how, his daughter's doing the podcast with him. And Adam actually got the sponsorship deal done. Like, he did all of it. But so it's cool just for, us as a team. We started late last year. And to have sponsorship lined up with even you guys and now that podcast with some others, it's cool that we can have a full season of sponsorship.
Definitely very exciting. I know I got the image of the Grid Network livery that was designed up. Looks wonderful. And of course, Alonso, you're going to be driving as well. You've been racing, doing some iRacing. You got the 2020 Truck Series Championship. How long have you been racing, and what equipment do you use for sim racing?
Well, I mean, I've been into racing since as long as I can remember, but I started my racing early in 2019. So not too long, not as long as some other people who have been doing it for like 5 or maybe even 10 years. But it's something that you're constantly learning, and it's great. It's awesome. It's lots of fun. As far as the equipment goes, nothing crazy. I have 3 monitors set up with a Logitech G29 steering wheel, and just a gaming chair. So nothing too crazy, but gets the job done.
Gets the job done. Definitely we're excited to have you on board. And of course, as we mentioned, Grid Network on board with Radius Racing. When it comes to, especially for our viewers as they're watching, when can they expect to see the livery of the Grid Network? Adam, do you like to take that question?
Of course. The Grid Network livery will be on at least one of our trucks in every single Galaxy Truck Series race this season, all 22 races. Those races are Thursday nights on JCTV this season, and Cameron will also be in a truck at Knoxville, and the aforementioned 2 Cup races, including the Clash in Sonoma. And it will also be sponsoring the 84 and 53 cars with Kyle Amon, Mike Tellier, Dakota Knoll, Philip Scott in the Galaxy Cup Series, and Alonso in the Truck Series, and everyone else. It's very exciting.
Very exciting time. I know for viewers, when it comes to the 2021, you mentioned already a little bit about where they could view, but especially just so people I know watching it, first race of the season for the trucks and the Cup, and where can they all tune in to watch it?
So for the Cup Series, we have not secured a broadcaster yet. We're still working on that. We've been close. So we'll have an announcement pretty soon about that. Like Adam said, for the Truck Series, you can find the Truck Series races on Friday nights, actually, on JCTV. And the first race for both of them are, let's see, it would be for the Cup Series, it would be the night before the real life Daytona 500. And then the Truck Series would race the night before that. So I'm not exactly sure what the dates are for that. I believe it's around the 16th, maybe, of February, maybe a little bit later. But yeah, just tune in the night before the Daytona 500 to see the sim racing version.
Very exciting. And of course, I know, Alonso, you're going to be racing this year. What are some of the big goals that you have for the 2021 season?
Well, obviously, going back to back would be huge for me. In the trucks that's my main focus for next year. But I'm also going to be making my Cup debut in Galaxy Cup this next season at Daytona, and I'm going to be doing a few Cup races as well. So as far as Cup goes, it's going to be a learning curve as far as the endurance of the races and how long they are. Just learning is always a goal for me, learning as much as I can, and getting used to those longer races so I can do Cup racing full time in the future.
We're going to be very excited. We're going to be following you. For fans, where could they follow you? I know you all have a Twitter account. We've been displaying that. Is there a website or just a Twitter so they can follow you, everyone?
There's just a Twitter, and we just made an Instagram today. The Twitter is @Radius Racing with an underscore at the end, and Instagram's just @Radius Racing. And then we got all of our drivers who have Twitter. It's on the Radius Twitter account, so it should be pretty easy to find.
Be easy to find. We're definitely excited to be working with y'all next year. The car looks wonderful again. Thank you all for being on the program. We'll definitely be keeping in touch and following your progress. And we encourage all our viewers to follow them online this season for online racing. Of course, iRacing Galaxy Cup. That's going to be really exciting to see. And one of the big things that's going to be really exciting to see as well when it comes to racing this year in 2021 is Austin Dillon. He is going to be in the Rolex 24-hour race at Daytona. Austin will be driving for RWR Eurasia team in LMP2, joining Cody Ware in the team. Austin becomes the second full-time Cup Series driver to enter, along with Chase Elliott, who is racing with Action Express Racing. Of course, Jimmy Johnson, he is not running full-time, but he'll be in that race as well. This is very significant because Austin missed the NASCAR Cup Series race at the Daytona road course last year. He tested positive for COVID-19 and was replaced. Daytona, of course, replaced Watkins Glen last year due to the pandemic with no experience. This allowed Austin Dillon track time in the Daytona road course, including if there's rain, which we saw the NASCAR race run at last year. NASCAR has run the Daytona road course in place of Auto Club Speedway, bringing the number of road course races to 7 in 2021 schedule. The 7 are the Daytona road course, Circuits of America, Sonoma, Road America, Watkins Glen, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, and of course the Charlotte Roval. Definitely it's going to be really interesting to see how Austin Dillon handles the 24-hour challenge at Daytona.
Yeah, you did bring up a good point there. Austin Dillon did test positive for COVID-19, and he missed the Daytona road course race, and minus the chicane coming off of NASCAR 4. He's basically going to be competing on the entire circuit minus that chicane. So it's definitely going to be important for him to get that experience, and that's definitely one thing for sure. And now looking at something that surrounds some uncertainty, there are new travel restrictions that have been put into place, and as a result, the Formula One Australian Grand Prix is now in jeopardy. At the time of our show's recording, there's been no official announcement made by Formula One. The new travel restrictions require all incoming travelers to quarantine for 2 full weeks, and this conflicts with preseason testing in Spain for all Formula One teams and drivers. And Formula One hasn't received approval from the Victorian government to implement a bubble approach used in the season finale at Abu Dhabi. And there are concerns that the vast number of personnel coming, over 1,500, have prevented the bubble approach to be approved, and many are speculating Australia be added to the calendar later on in the season. But given the Formula One calendar and all of it's really going to be a tight squeeze, especially with some of the locations. It'll be a very long flight. It'll be hard logistic wise for them to fit Australia in sometime later in the season. So with that being said, Joe, do you see Australia returning on the calendar if it doesn't open the 2021 Formula One season?
It will be really tricky if they could get it on the calendar, because not only Formula One, it's a street circuit, but of course local governments are going to have to work together when it comes to closing streets down, crowd control, especially with the pandemic. And then of course, this is an event not only for Formula One, the Australian supercars, they don't want to lose another date. They're going to definitely be trying to advocate for a date that works well for them as well. I think with the supercar series, they're going to be more dependent on if Formula One says this date, they're going to adjust the rest of their schedule to accommodate that Melbourne weekend. But it's going to be really tricky, and especially when it comes to street circuit, road circuits this year, it's still going to be a very delicate situation when it comes to the pandemic and scheduling and crowd control.
Yeah, it's going to be a real delicate situation and a fluid situation as well, because this pandemic is very unpredictable and a lot of things are changing. And another change that happened today was IndyCar announcing that the Firestone Grand Prix on the streets of St. Pete have been moved from March 7th to April 25th. In Barber Motorsports Park, a permanent road course in Alabama, will kick off the 2021 NTT IndyCar Series season on April 11th. And we've already seen other changes made, with Long Beach moving from the spring to the season finale, ending the year with a West Coast swing consisting of Portland and Laguna Seca. As the pandemic continues to get even more unpredictable, should we expect multiple changes to the 2021 IndyCar schedule?
I'm afraid so, especially the number of street courses. And we also have first year street course of Nashville. you can always plan an event so much, but once you do the event for the first time, that's where you see little hiccups here and there. So I think it's going to make it where for Nashville, it's going to be a little bit more tricky. Unfortunately, security in Nashville, that became a topic recently with what happened on Christmas Day. But then when you look at California, 2 races there, that could also be really tricky when it comes to scheduling. Later on, we're assuming the pandemic, the vaccine has everything under control. Portland International Raceway is a closed circuit track, but it's within the city limits. That presents its own challenges. So it's compared to, say, NASCAR, where NASCAR has the ability to say, okay, no fans at the tracks. The tracks are usually located away from major metropolitan areas. It's going to be a little tricky for IndyCar since they do have the higher number of street circuit races and races that occur within metropolitan cities.
Yeah, and as for those street course races in IndyCar and also the street courses Formula One as well, and we've seen Formula E too with their season opener and on a street course getting canned. I think we need to have some backup plans in place, contingency plans like other circuits to go to in case the worst happens and you can't race there. And I do think you bring up a good point. I think the most vulnerable races right now are definitely going to be the street circuits or in states where restrictions are higher in certain states in comparison to others. And with this IndyCar season opener starting after April 4th, that means week 1 of the grid ranking won't have any IndyCar drivers scored. Week 4, after the completion of Barber and St. Pete, we'll finally see IndyCar scored. And on Monday, Red Bull Racing announced that Alex Albon will race in DTM this year. After losing his full-time Formula One seat to Sergio Perez, Albon will continue at Red Bull as the reserve and test driver. However, on weekends without a scheduling conflict, Albon will be racing DTM. Red Bull Junior driver Liam Lawson will also race in DTM in a Red Bull-backed effort, and although it hasn't been announced yet, it's expected that Liam Lawson will be running a joint program racing in DTM full-time and also in the Formula 2 series, which is seeing a major change this year with I think it's 8 weekends, 3 races, 24 races, but they're spaced out so much where there won't be any conflicts with his DTM and a potential Formula One schedule. And considering the state of DTM shifting to the GT3 formula after losing manufacturer support, including not being scored in the Grid World Motorsport League, the addition of Alex Albon is much needed star power to a fallen series. This is a huge win for DTM, a win for Alex Albon, being able to race, be competitive, not be in an environment many speculate is very toxic for the number 2 driver at Red Bull in Formula One. And DTM is currently scheduled to start their season on May 29th and 30th at the Gora Drive in Russia.
It's going to be really interesting to see how everything works out at DTM. We also want to acknowledge one of our viewers in the chat room, Lucero from Mexico. Thank you for watching. We definitely appreciate it and hope you're enjoying the program as well. Some more news, of course, to discuss is from the NASCAR Cup Series, and that is Anthony Alfredo. This morning, Front Row Motorsports announced that in 2021, he will be part of the team. It will start off with Michael McDowell returning in the number 34 Ford Mustang in the NASCAR Cup Series. Todd Gilligan will return to the Truck Series. David Reagan will make another attempt at the Daytona 500, driving the number 36 Ford Mustang after finishing 4th place last year. 38, vacated by John Hunter Nemechek. Anthony Alfredo will be taking over that seat. Very surprising, especially after running a part-time schedule for Richard Childress Racing last year in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Alfredo will make his Cup Series debut at the Daytona 500 and run the full season in the NASCAR Cup Series. As we know, some people have questioned this move, going from part-time schedule in both the Truck and the Xfinity Series to now full-time in the Cup Series. How challenging will this be for Anthony Alfredo to just make this big of a jump?
Oh, it's going to be a huge challenge for Anthony Alfredo. And as we've seen in the past, going and running the Cup Series is definitely not going to be an easy task. Yeah, Anthony hasn't run full-time in the Trucks or Xfinity Series, but last year in the Xfinity Series, he showed a ton of potential in that number 21 Chevrolet Camaro at Richard Childress Racing. He showed the potential if you give him a full-time ride in good equipment in the Xfinity Series, that he could go out there and potentially compete for multiple wins and the championship at the end of the season as well. So I definitely believe that Anthony Alfredo has the talent to succeed. And going to the Cup Series now, I think he's going to be in a good situation because at Front Row Motorsports they've been working really hard to improve their programs over the years. Front Row is a mid pack team on the rise, so there won't be as much pressure on Anthony Alfredo as there would be if he was driving for a team capable of finishing, like, let's say, the top 10 in points, or even just making the playoffs at that. But but it's definitely a huge challenge racing at the Cup level, especially since Alfredo's only competed in trucks and Xfinity part time and hasn't run a full season in those series.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something where it'll be very exciting to see what he could do with that team. It's not a front running team; it is a mid pack team. And the big thing I think is going to be the challenge is the grueling length of the schedule, especially when we have events change, reschedule, postpone. If we have another long stretch of week after week after week of racing and traveling, that's going to be a really big challenge. But definitely the restrictor plates, the fact that there's low expectations for that team, he could really feel less pressure compared to a rookie at Joe Gibbs Racing, going in there knowing that they're anticipating you to win. Anthony Alfredo was a winner race. Even if it was a restricted play race, it'll be a huge shock, a huge surprise, and definitely a big day for that team, which has won races in the restricted plates as well. And one of the big things, of course, when it comes to racing, the WeatherTech Racing and Proton Competition have formed a partnership to field a single Porsche 911 RSR privateer entry in the IMSA GTLM class. Cooper McNeil will run the entire season at the Rolex 24. He'll be joined by 3 Porsche factory drivers, Kevin Estra, Richard Leitz, and Jimmy Bruni. This is huge news for the struggling GTLM class. Only Corvette Racing had confirmed a pair of full-time entries. BMW is the only committed for Daytona for right now. We also saw Ricci Ferrari at Daytona. No additional words on races for them. With both factory Porsches exiting the series at the end of last year, another Porsche entry for GTLM is definitely wonderful news. Now it's time for some quick takes.
Christina Gutierrez became the first woman to win a stage at the Dakar Rally since 2005. Christina will be participating in Extreme E, driving for Lewis Hamilton's team. Christina took stage 1 victory, becoming the first since Jutta Kleinsmith. She took 11th in stage 2, sitting 4th overall in the lightweight class. And the first run of the Dakar Rally was 1979, and the last day of the rally this year is going to be on January 15th.
Cameron Waters is going to be racing sprint cars ahead of the 2020 Australian Supercar season. The Tickford Racing driver will drive a sprint car for Sheaf Racing, a team owned by Tickford sponsor Colin McQueen. Waters will make his debut at Tasman Speedway in Saturday night.
Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus has formed a partnership with Yost Racing and Sauber for their Le Mans Hypercar program to compete in the FIA World Endurance Championship with a 2-car program. According to Sports Car 365, Team Yost will provide personnel and resources while Sauber will focus on the aerodynamics of the SCG 007 LMH prototype. The team is expected to skip the season opener and debut at Spa-Francorchamps instead, and the driver lineup will be announced at a later date.
The 2021 SRX schedule was revealed a couple of days ago. The series is, of course, owned by Tony Stewart, and Ray Everhand will consist of 6 consecutive race weekends in the summer of 2021, with June 12th, Stafford Motor Speedway, June 19th, Knoxville Raceway, June 26th, Eldora Speedway, July 23rd, Lucas Oil Raceway, July 10th, Slinger Speedway, and July 17th, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, the season finale for the SRX season.
McLaren Formula One driver Lando Norris tested positive for COVID-19. After noticing a loss of smell and taste, common COVID-19 symptoms, Norris decided to go get tested, which was the right thing to do. He obviously tested positive and informed the McLaren team. Right now, Lando Norris is currently in quarantine for 14 days at his hotel in Dubai.
Definitely wishing Lando a speedy recovery. We also want to encourage everyone to take 5 minutes after the program today. We encourage everyone to show your support by visiting our Patreon page. It definitely helps keep us on the air. First, we gotta give a big thank you to Colin, our first Patreon. Definitely want to have your name on our program as well. click on the link in the video description to join our Patreon page. Definitely appreciate all the support from Colin. He is aware of how his money is being used to invest in the Grid Network, and so would you. Thursday, the women Racing to Win with Joe and Daniel from Racers, the girls behind the helmet. And Saturday, Grid Live News, noon Eastern. Latest news, reports, and discussion about the world of racing. We invite you to follow us at Grid Ranking at Grid_WML. And be sure to visit our sponsors at Publis as well. They definitely do a good cause when it comes to supporting dogs that are homeless, sick, and in need of a good home. Definitely want to thank you all for watching the program today. We encourage everyone to stay safe. For Kobe Lambeth at the Podium Finish, I'm Joe Samaniego. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. We'll see you Saturday. Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Publis. Publis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. So definitely check out Publis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.